Psychology Advanced Placement Edition. Psychology. I did have this class. The class was terrible for me because I was not good at it at all. So it was very interesting though. Very interesting. There's units that we had to read, we didn't get to finish the units. We stopped like at 8 because of COVID. I was not good at this book or this subject, as you would say. But yeah, psychology. Charles. The Scandal War. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce it again. Okay, let's flip to the first unit. Context. Let's flip to the first unit. Okay, the field of psychology. Again, not the best reader, so please put up with me. Okay. Alright. The field of psychology. For it all depends on how we look at things and not on how they are themselves. Carl Hahn or John. I don't know. Okay. Many myths persist of the field of psychology. Those who work within it, people often view psychologists as a professional who listens while clients talk about personal problems, or as someone who does testing to gather information about their clients' thoughts and feelings. I believe that was what a psychologist is, but I'm not sure. Most people often view it like that. I guess it's something different. While there is an element of truth of each of these perceptions, the field of psychology is much more dynamic and diverse than these snapshots suggest. One aspect of psychology focuses on providing tools to allow people to lead healthy and productive lives. Okay. Another aspect raises and seeks to answer basic questions about the mind. What is the memory process? What pathways do neurochemical transmitters follow, and what is their role? Okay, these are good questions because I have no idea. Okay, at its core, psychology from the Greek words psyche, meaning mind, soul, spirit, and logia, meaning the study of. Okay, it's the scientific study of human thoughts and human and animal behavior. The field of psychology seeks to improve understanding of self and others and explores both biological and environmental influences on personality and behavior. This chapter will examine the historical roots of psychology and the modern approaches used to the areas of study in which psychologists are engaged and careers in the field of psychology. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Let's move to the historical origins of psychology. Alright, the field of psychology is a relatively is a relatively new science, but its roots are in the older arenas of physiology. I'm sorry, that does not say that. Philosophy. Arenas of philosophy and physiology. Physiology. No. Philosophy and physiology. Sorry, I told you my reading is terrible. Many of the questions psychologists ask today originated with the questions of the ancient philosophers. The difference in the disciplines. Okay, the difference. Okay, sorry. The difference. I thought I was pronouncing that wrong. The difference in the disciplines lines. No, the disciplines lies in how they go about answering these questions. Got stuck there for a bit. I'm telling y'all, you're gonna get mad. Y'all gonna have to put up with me because I can't read that much. I have terrible reading. I should probably start reading these books. I have a whole library full of books that I have not read. My mom has it for me. I don't know why. Okay, the psychology's roots. Plato, 424, 348, 424, 348 BCE, before Christ era, proposed the idea that each of us has our own perception of the world in which is unique to our life experiences. Okay, this is a guy, or a woman, I think it's a guy. Okay, Plato showed that what people think of as reality is shaped by their experiences, and that philosophers can arrive at the truth by looking beyond the physically observable. Okay, I definitely read this wrong. I'm looking through the phone so I can read this, but I'm reading it wrong. Okay, beyond the physically observable. Beyond the physically observable. Okay. You may sit in the same class as 30 other students, and yet each of you takes away different experiences and interpretations from the course. Each of you perceives your own experiences as the truth. Okay, yeah, this is true. This is basically saying you're in a class with 30 students and you get taught. Each of y'all will have different experiences and interpretations of what y'all been taught, which is pretty true. No one has the same interpretations of a course that you have been taught. So, because everybody has different mindset. So, it is true. Okay, Plato believed that experiences create a subjective reality. Today, psychology recognizes that perception is influenced by previous experiences that act as a filter for incoming sensory data and that shape our expectations of the world. Okay. Aristotle. I don't think that's how you pronounce it. Aristotle, 384 to 322 BCE, was a student of Plato's. Okay, he was taught by this guy. While Plato believed that the essence of the thing existed beyond observable nature, Aristotle believed that the way to understand the essence of something was to study specific examples of it in nature, to gain knowledge from the observational and data. Okay? Today, experimental psychology is built on the process underlying Aristotle's views, drawing conclusions based on specific observations. Aristotle also drew a distinction between knowing, which he argued was the result of experience and the process of thinking, and he studied motivation, linguistics, and perception. Key topics in psychology today. These are key topics. Yeah, he studied the motivation, the process of thinking. He studied motivation, linguistics, and perception. Okay. The French philosopher René Descartes, from 1596 to 1650, refined a theory known as dualism, which recognizes a duality, or recognizes the duality of, or a two-part quality to human existence: the body, which is physical. Okay, trying to mix this with psychology, which is physical and includes the brain, and the mind, which is non-physical. He believed further that the two parts interact in a cause and effective relationship. His idea contrasts with monism. The belief that nothing exists except physical matter. The mind is a function of the brain. The English philosopher and physician John Locke, from 1632. I heard this name before. John Locke in history. John Locke from 1632 to 1704 posted that all individuals are born. Cited that all individuals are born a blank slate, or tabula rasa in Latin, and experiences in the world shape the personal filling up the blank slate. So tabula rasa in Latin, and experiences in the world shapes the person. An experience in the world shapes the person, filling up the blank slate. Locke formed the basic idea that would later make up the theory of behaviorism. Locke liked Aristotle as well as future behaviorist, believed in the examining data rather than using in, institution, intuition, institutions, or reason alone. Locke's idea are also important in ongoing debate between the influences of nature genetics versus nurture environmental. Nature versus nurture. A key theme in many aspects of psychology. The birth of psychology as a science. Okay, the German philosopher, physician, and professor Wilhelm Wundt. This German Wilhelm Wundt from 1832 to 1920 is known as the father of psychology because he is the first person to study humans in a laboratory setting. As you read, Wundt began studying people in his laboratory. Yeah, he's German, you see. In Leipzig, Germany, in 1879. An occasion now often referred to as the birth of psychology. Wundt wanted to move the field of psychology away from philosophy and make it a discipline that was more measurable and scientific. Chemicals and the other elements were being studied in laboratories, and Wundt believed that humans could be studied in much the same way. To study them, Wundt used a process he called introspection, which required humans to report their conscious experiences, sensations, perceptions, and first reactions in relation to a number of different objects. Unfortunately, the process of introspection was unsuccessful in achieving its goal because people's responses were too subjective, and unlike chemicals, they change from trial to trial. Edward Titchener, I don't know, Titchener, I don't even want to pronounce that, from 1867, 1927, brought Wundt's idea to the United States. Okay, so Wundt was basically the god of psychology, and this guy wanted to bring his idea into the United States since his idea was done in Germany. So he basically wanted to actually complete his idea over here. So let's just say Edward, he worked at Cornell University and promoted the study of. I'm sorry, my finger was looking shiny for a second. I was wondering why. I don't know. Okay. So, promoted the study of conscious experiences. Okay, conscious experience by attempting to break it down into its most basic components or structures using Wundt's introspective techniques, examining them carefully, and then putting the pieces of the human puzzle back together to understand the whole. He coined the term structuralism to identify his approach because it was so closely related to the work of Wundt's structuralism is sometimes thought of as the first school of psychology. So let's read that again. Because it was so closely related to the work of Wundt, structuralism is sometimes thought of the first school of psychology. Okay, I get that. This is interesting so far. It is very interesting so far. If you find it to be interesting, I hope you guys do like this reading. If you guys like this, give me a thumbs up and subscribe and show that you guys are supporting all the way. I'm gonna read just 30 minutes. I don't want to keep it an hour. If you guys want an hour, you guys let me know. If you guys don't want an hour, it's okay. And I'll continue like this. Do a short 30-minute clips of just me reading. I'm gonna finish. Whoa. I won't be finishing this chapter. Clearly. Got a couple of pages, but we'll be finishing this page. William James, an American philosopher, physician, and a professor at Harvard University. Okay, William James, I heard of him. Was one of many who were critical of structuralism. James believed it made more sense to examine the functions of the consciousness. What purpose did it serve? Just as Wundt had been influenced by the objective measurements of the other scientific fields, James had been influenced by the work of Charles Darwin. Okay, Charles Darwin, I also heard about him. 1809 to 1882, his theory of evolution. The view of organisms changed over time as they adapt to their environment, and that adaptations that serve the functions of promoting survival are passing onto offspring, rather than seeing consciousness as made up of the structures. James saw it as a continuous flow. He continued the term stream of consciousness to describe it. Unlike the structuralist, he did not see individual puzzle pieces and wondered what big picture they make when put together. Instead, he saw the big picture and asked what its function was. James was the function of consciousness, and as the evolutionary adaptations to environment that made it possible for humans to thrive and continue to adapt, his approach became known as functionalism. James also wrote the first comprehensive textbook of psychology, the principle of psychology. Okay. James was really important then. William James was someone really important to psychology, as Darwin. Okay. Mary Winton Calkins. That's just 1863 to 1930. Let's ignore this. Wilton, I think. It's Wilton Calkins. Okay, received one-on-one lessons in psychology from James. Wow. She must be. Wow. If she got James to have one-on-one lessons, she must be very, very intelligent. The reasons for her individualist. Okay. The reasons for her individualism. I don't even know. Okay. The reason for her individualist instruction was that all the males who have been enrolled in James' class unrolled when Calkins began attending. presence of a woman in the class. Wow. As a way of protesting the presence of a woman in the class. That's crazy. So the people, guys, everybody, the male people that joined his class, because he was a professor, that joined James' class, left because of this woman. Because it was a way of protesting that no woman should be allowed in the class. That is crazy. Administrations at Harvard determined she could not be recognized as an official student. Wow. She completed all the necessary work for a PhD in her unofficial capacity. I'm stupid. I am really stupid, I'm sorry. It is really early, so apologize. Apologize in advance. Capacity. Oh my god. This really didn't expose me. But I hope you guys are enjoying so far. Okay. But Harvard refused to grant her the degree. Wow, they refused. Just because she's a woman. Calkins nonetheless went on to have a distinguished career in psychology. She conducted early studies on memory and served as a woman president of the American Psychological Association. She founded one of the first psychology laboratories at Wellesley. Wow, she was very smart woman. To ignore Harvard's request in a degree. That's crazy. Okay, Wesley College. Stop there. Okay. Today, more than half of all undergraduate and graduate degrees in psychology at all universities are granted to women. Hear that? That is crazy today. How things change, right? Alright. Margaret Floyd Washburn, from 1871 to 1939, was the first woman to receive a PhD in psychology from Cornell University. Earlier at Columbia University, she had studied under Raymond Cattell. Right here, I think the first chapter just talks about the important people in psychology, the important people that made psychology actually become a thing, I guess. So she studied under Raymond Cattell, a psychologist who had identified 16 discredited personality traits. 16 discrete personality traits. Washburn was interested in animal behavior and wrote a book titled The Animal Mind. She would later have an impact on behaviorist who conducted much of her research with animals. Washburn also served as the president of the American Psychological Association that taught psychology for many years at Vassar. While women entered the field of professional psychology later than men, they had long been on the front line of reform for people with mental illness. In the 1840s, Dorothea Dorothea Dix, I heard that name too in American history. Dorothea Dix in American history, if I remember. I think she was one of the women that took, I don't, if I do recall, she was one of the women that were in one of the women protests when women needed rights or something like that. Women rights, or when women wanted to vote. It was a protest back then, way back then, when women wanted to protest. If I'm right, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look that up though. She undertook an investigation of the living conditions of poor people with mental illnesses. Okay, maybe I don't know. I'm gonna look her up. And I'm sure she was involved with women's rights movement. She undertook an investigation of the living conditions of poor people with mental illnesses, finding some of them kept in cages, stalls, and pens. Her investigation and tireless advocacy, oh my god, let's see, advocacy, advocacy, I can't even pronounce it, advocacy, led to first mental asylums in the United States. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. It's been 32 minutes, and maybe I should finish this.